Every great battle in history has one secret that most people never notice. It wasn't always the biggest army, the strongest weapons, or the bravest soldiers that decided who won. Sometimes, victory belonged to the man who could think faster than everyone else. A commander who turned mountains into shields, weather into weapons, and fear into the deadliest force on earth. Imagine defeating an army twice your size without firing the first shot, convincing an enemy to surrender before the battle even begins, or winning a war by making your opponent believe a lie so convincing that they march themselves into disaster. These aren't myths. They actually happened. From Alexander the Great outsmarting entire empires before the age of gunpowder, to Hannibal crossing the impossible Alps with elephants, from Julius Caesar turning political chaos into military dominance, to Genghis Khan using speed and psychological warfare centuries before modern intelligence agencies existed. History is filled with tactical masterminds whose greatest weapon wasn't steel. It was the human mind. But here's the shocking truth. Many of their greatest battlefield secrets are still studied today inside the world's most elite military academies, and some of these ancient strategies are even used in modern business, politics, sports, and intelligence operations. So what made these leaders different? Were they born as military geniuses? Or did they simply understand something about human nature that everyone else missed? Tonight, we're decoding the battlefield secrets of history's greatest leaders, uncovering the hidden strategies that transformed ordinary men into legendary commanders whose names have survived for thousands of years. Our journey begins more than 2,000 years ago with a young king who inherited a fragile kingdom at just 20 years old. Most people expected him to fail. His enemies laughed. His allies doubted him. Yet within little more than a decade, he would build one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt and deep into Asia. That king was Alexander the Great. While most rulers relied on overwhelming numbers, Alexander relied on speed, deception, and perfect timing. He never entered a battlefield without first understanding the terrain better than his enemy. Rivers became traps. Hills became fortresses. Open fields became carefully designed killing grounds. His famous companion cavalry wasn't simply a group of elite horsemen. It was the sharp point of a carefully crafted strategy designed to punch a hole through enemy formations exactly where they were weakest. At the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC, Alexander faced the mighty Persian king Darius III, whose army may have outnumbered his own by several times. Conventional wisdom suggested retreat. Instead, Alexander did something almost unbelievable. Rather than attacking head-on, he deliberately moved his army sideways across the battlefield, forcing the Persians to stretch their own lines in response. Darius couldn't resist taking the bait. As his formation widened, tiny gaps began to appear in the Persian ranks. Alexander had been waiting for this exact moment. Like a chess grandmaster sacrificing a pawn to expose a king, he led a lightning-fast cavalry charge directly through the opening, aiming not at the army itself, but at Darius personally. Within moments, the Persian king panicked and fled. The sight of their ruler escaping shattered the morale of thousands of soldiers who still greatly outnumbered the Macedonians. The battle was effectively over before much of the Persian army had even begun fighting. Alexander understood a lesson that modern psychologists now recognize. People rarely fight for abstract causes. They fight because they believe their leaders know what they're doing. Remove that confidence, and entire armies collapse. Yet Alexander's brilliance was only the beginning. Nearly a century earlier, another commander would prove that impossible terrain could become the greatest tactical advantage ever imagined. Hannibal Barca, the brilliant Carthaginian general, shocked the ancient world by marching tens of thousands of soldiers, cavalry, and even war elephants across the frozen Alps, an achievement many believed was physically impossible. Historians still debate exactly which mountain passes he used, but one fact remains undeniable. Rome never expected an invasion from that direction. Hannibal's greatest weapon wasn't the elephants, it was surprise. By attacking where no one believed an attack could happen, he instantly gained the initiative. Then came the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, a battle still taught in military academies as one of the greatest tactical victories ever achieved. Hannibal intentionally placed his weakest troops in the center of his formation, encouraging the Roman legions to push forward with confidence. The Romans believed they were breaking through the enemy line. In reality, they were walking into a carefully designed trap. As the Roman army advanced deeper, Hannibal's stronger forces on both flanks swung inward like giant doors closing on a hallway, completely surrounding one of the largest armies Rome had ever assembled. The Romans had nowhere to run. Tens of thousands were trapped inside a shrinking circle, where numbers no longer mattered because there simply wasn't enough room to fight. This maneuver, known today as the double envelopment, became one of the most influential battlefield tactics in military history, inspiring commanders from Napoleon to modern generals. But perhaps the most dangerous weapon ever carried by a military genius wasn't a sword, a spear, or an elephant. It was information. Centuries later, Genghis Khan would conquer vast civilizations using intelligence networks, lightning-fast communication, misinformation, and relentless mobility. His armies appeared to be everywhere at once. Villages that resisted were often spared only long enough to spread terrifying stories of Mongol victories, turning fear itself into a weapon that traveled faster than any horse. Enemy commanders frequently surrendered before battles even began because psychological defeat had already taken place. Long before radio, satellites, or encrypted communications, Genghis Khan had mastered operational intelligence, flexible command structures, and rapid maneuver warfare that many historians consider centuries ahead of its time. Meanwhile, Julius Caesar demonstrated another form of battlefield genius: the ability to adapt instantly when everything went wrong. At Alesia, Caesar found himself trapped between two enemy armies, one inside the city and another approaching from outside to rescue them. Most commanders would have retreated. Caesar did the opposite. He built two massive rings of fortifications, one facing inward to contain the city and another facing outward to repel the incoming relief force. It was engineering, logistics, and tactical innovation working together in perfect harmony. Against overwhelming odds, Caesar defeated both enemies almost simultaneously. His victory proved that preparation and discipline could overcome numerical inferiority. Across centuries, continents, and cultures, these leaders shared remarkable similarities. They all studied their enemies obsessively. They all understood terrain better than maps could show. They all used deception to control what opponents believed. Most importantly, they recognized that battles were won long before the first sword was drawn. Victory began in planning, in logistics, in intelligence, in morale, and in the ability to predict human behavior under extreme pressure. Even today, echoes of their strategies appear in military planning rooms, corporate boardrooms, championship sports teams, political campaigns, and intelligence operations around the world. Because although technology changes, human psychology remains astonishingly constant. The greatest battlefield isn't always made of dirt and blood. Sometimes it's made of information, confidence, timing, and perception. And that's why the tactical genius of history's greatest leaders continues to shape the modern world in ways most people never realize.